Good day to you all. This presentation was brought to you by Everett Betty Jr. Today, I am briefly going to explain and provide a quick illustration on how a supply chain works. Also, I'm going to identify the critical links and concepts of a supply chain as well. Before we begin, I want to point out the main points of a supply chain link. First, the main point of the supply chain link are the raw materials, the supplier, the manufacturer, transportation, retailer, and last but not least, the final customer. For demonstrational purposes on how a supply chain works, we will just show a customer ordering a hammer from Amazon.com as an example. In order for the supply chain to even begin, a demand needs to be established. That demand is established by creating a purchase order. The order is made online by the final customer during checkout. Alright, everybody, let us get this bread. Once the order has been made and the payments processed, an invoice is created. That information gets relayed to the retailer, the transporters, the suppliers, and the manufacturer, and everyone else in between to make the hammer possible. First, there are raw materials or ingredients that are needed to make the hammer. In order to make the hammer, we gonna need some wood, steel, and rubber. These are extracted and synthesized from natural resources. Those materials then get transported to the suppliers. Examples of raw material sources are farms, mines, forests, and wells. Now that the raw materials have been obtained by the suppliers, they can now either be created, refined, and or warehoused. Once warehoused, they are now ready for wholesale purchase and transportation to the next link in the supply chain, the main manufacturer. Examples of suppliers can be steel mills, warehouses, lumber yards, or refineries. Manufacturer. The manufacturer is the focal point of the entire supply chain. It is the center of the entire operation. This is where all the supplies that the manufacturer purchased from the supplier ends up. It is where they put together to create the final product, the hammer. The product created here is what gets shipped to the next link of the supply chain, the retailer. One example of a manufacturer is an assembly plant, or also known as a factory. Okay, we're almost there. The next step in the supply chain is the retailer. This is where the customer initially comes in contact with the hammer. This is also where the transaction takes place with the final customer. In this case, we're using an online retailer on the internet. There are also physical retailers where face-to-face transactions can occur as well. Examples of a retailer are online stores, hardware stores, a grocery store, a mall, or a department store. Alrighty. Last but definitely not the least, each link in the supply chain is connected through a series of transport and distribution companies. These are individuals who connect all of the dots in the supply chain. This is the bloodline of the entire supply chain and logistics management. This ensures that each item is carried to each link of the supply chain efficiently and safely. Examples of transportation and distribution are trucking companies, warehouses, airlines, carriers, and even now drones today. In summary, here's a quick diagram of the supply chain after an order has been made. Starting with raw materials, those raw materials are transported to the suppliers, which is transported to the manufacturer, which is then transported to the retailer, and then finally transported to the final customer. Now with that, that brings you to the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time.